Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of the broadcast where we give you bite-sized bits of best practices to help you be a better leader and a more effective communicator. I'm your host, Jarrett Bro. Well, you gave us some great responses during the week. I'm going to share my screen with you. We asked the question earlier, is the NFL in crisis? And we specifically asked this immediately after the Super Bowl because there were so many controversies leading up to the Super Bowl, among them the no call in the New Orleans Saints and Los Angeles Rams game. Full disclosure, I live in New Orleans and my beloved Saints were cheated. And to give you an example of how far a crisis like this goes, all of us in New Orleans agreed that we would put every TV in our house on a channel other than the Super Bowl. And then we left the TVs on and we went to boycott bowl events where we had Super Bowl parties, but no one watched the Super Bowl because we wanted to send a message to Roger Goodell. So that's one example of the type of emerging crises that I see. And of course, we have other crises such as Colin Kaepernick. But the main question we were really asking about was leading up to the Super Bowl and is the brand damaged? So to that extent, Benjamin Morgan commented that he thinks that they have an issue that needs to be responded to. The Super Bowl brand is ingrained in culture and they have the potential to see it brought down. By not responding, what he's really referring to there is Roger Goodell, head of the NFL, went a week and a half without making any public statements or holding a news conference to address the controversy with the New Orleans Saints. He really never said anything until he was forced to have his news conference just prior to the Super Bowl. I think that's downright arrogant and downright stupid. If he had had that news conference a week before, the Super Bowl by itself would have been a more pure event. Instead, his news conference was clouded by the controversy that he refused to get rid of a week earlier. Another great comment comes from Julia Joy. She says she's not sure if there's a crisis, but there's definitely an environment of change that needs to be adapted to quickly. And she says, you know, the NFL gives away a lot of money and the organization has done good works in the community, but they're not adapting to the social change or evolving to meet the broader public where the public is. An interesting thing, Julia, I'll say this. I like your comments. I will say anything that affects an organization's reputation and or revenue is what I define as a crisis. So sometimes you're in a full-blown crisis, sometimes you're heading in a crisis, but if your reputation and revenue are getting damaged, I say a crisis is on the horizon. Regarding philanthropic activities, that builds equity for a brand, but it all goes out the window as soon as the audience feels betrayed. A couple of good comments from Paul Ladd in Nashville. Paul says, absolutely, yes, the NFL is in crisis. All the controversies are a distraction from the sport and the entertainment, and it's turning off everyday people who buy what is advertised. That is a killer observation. Next, he says referees must be accountable to someone when they blow a call. Again, excellent observation. He says it's okay for players to take a stand and get involved with social causes, but certain ones seem to be more interested in their cause than they are in playing the game. And he also says that players have to realize other viewpoints need to be respected beyond their own viewpoints. Overall, he says people are being tired of being lectured to by players, and they will eventually vote with their pocketbook. Crisis, yes, Roger Goodell should pay attention to it. I agree with every observation you made there, Paul. Outstanding job. Here's a phrase I want you to learn because this is what's happening in the NFL: customer volatility. Each of us who watches a game is a customer. Each of us who buys logo wear for our team is a customer. Each of us who buys a ticket to an event is a customer, and we are getting volatile. The fact that everybody in New Orleans organized their own boycott bowl shows that we can be volatile. And sure enough, the next day, there was a significant drop in ratings. Imagine a major NFL city having no ratings for the game. But not only were our ratings down, other people around the country simply said, we're not watching this game anymore. And all throughout the season, we've been seeing teams struggling. So how do we adjust to this? What do you do in your organization if you're facing your own crisis? If you follow me on social media, you know that I talk often about the 5 steps to effective crisis communications. And the answer for the NFL lies in step 1 of the 5 steps to effective crisis communications. And if you don't know the 5 steps to effective crisis communications, just go sign up for that free 5-part 5 steps to effective crisis communications video class on my website at brocommunications.com. But step 1 is a vulnerability assessment. When it hits the fan, what is your it? Well, the NFL has a lot of it hitting the fan right now, whether it's players misbehaving, whether it's referees blowing call, whether it's the arrogance of the CEO. All of these things are affecting them. And what they should do, and probably won't do, is to really sit down and make a very long list of everything that is either currently affecting their reputation and revenue in a negative way, or other events that may emerge that will affect their reputation and revenue. And that's what you need to do in your organization. We're early in 2019, and your goal should be to complete all 5 steps within 2019. And the vulnerability assessment is something that you do initially at the beginning of the process. Then you should do it every quarter, because your business changes, the environment changes, what is socially acceptable changes. So therefore, vulnerability assessments are a critical part of understanding the 5 steps to effective crisis communications. So to wrap things up, I want to thank everybody who participated and gave us your feedback. Some really great observations. We will be back next week with another question for you and an opportunity for you to respond. Thanks for being a part of the broadcast. I'm Jared Bro.